Yo, what's going on everyone? Infamous Legacy here from the game Haulerz, and we want to showcase this video to you guys featuring myself, RetroRat64, and BigSunZone. We are showcasing to you guys the Niagara Game Swap event that takes place in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. This event does happen yearly, so if you guys are in the Niagara, Ontario region, make sure you check it out. This event is all about, picking up video games, so buying video games. If you also want to trade in, you can do that as well. You can also sell your video games with the vendors that come to this event. Myself, BigSunZone, and RetroRat64 picked up a couple games from this event, and we will be doing another video showcasing what pickups we got from this event, so make sure you guys check that out. And if you guys also want to check out the video games that we picked up and see gameplay footage of it, check out our individual YouTube channels. I will leave a link in the description below, and make sure you guys stay notified on Twitter and follow us at Game Haulerz. We will be posting updates and other videos on our Twitter feed to showcase to you guys what events we are going to be going to next, what pickups we've come across, whether it's at GameSwap events, GameStops, or other, video game stores. So make sure you do follow us on Twitter. But going back to this event, so with this video, you guys are just going to see quickly of all the games, how the displays are, and everything like that. In this event, myself, I was trying to get a lot of PS4 RPG titles just because I do have a PS5. So with the backwards compatibility, I was trying to get a lot of those PS4 games. You can see here some footage of some classic PlayStation games, GameCube games, Super Nintendo, and we also see a Switch game. Switch is pretty rare, especially seeing like collector edition games as well, like that Metroid game that you just saw, because those games are pretty pricey. So we obviously didn't try to pick up any Switch games. We were trying to go for games that we really wanted. And then RetroRat and BigSunZone, they were trying to get anything they can get their hands on at a decent price. And shout out to these vendors. The vendors were all, or most of them were reasonable. They actually negotiated us with some pretty decent prices. Some of them didn't have prices on their games, which we hated. And we also knew that they were going to go on price charting just to see how much their games were worth. So we kind of avoided that. And with a lot of these games, some of these games were in pretty good condition, some weren't. So we were looking for the best condition games and also checking which games were selling at a high value, just to make sure, one day down the road, if we ever wanted to sell our games, we can get some value for it. This bin right here, if you guys can just peep that Xbox game, I'm not sure if you see it right here. It's a quick clip, but you guys probably saw a Playboy Xbox game. Honestly, I don't know if myself or BigSunZone or RetroRat saw that game at the time, but one of us should have probably picked it up just to see what the game was about and maybe live streamed it on Twitch or something, because that was an interesting game, and there was a lot of those type of games at this event. And then we also have the Def Jam Fight for New York game. That's a high value game here, especially in Canada. With Canadian prices with video games, they're pretty pricey, unlike the States. So getting our hands on these type of games, we had to make sure, we were prepared to, for the prices that these vendors were selling at. And again, trying to negotiate with them. A lot of Wii games. So there was a lot of those, a lot of this vendor right here, she actually had a lot of Nintendo Switch games, which was shocking. And she also has some in-box Nintendo Switch items. So, but again, like I said, the Nintendo Switch games and the items are pretty pricey, so we didn't really want to mess with that. We got some PS2 classics right here. GameCube, shout out to the GameCube, man. Phenomenal system. One of those consoles that, honestly, if you do mod it, for example, you can get a lot out of it. And then we also got some more PS2 games here. So we saw a lot of OG Xbox, PlayStation 2 games. We also saw some PS1 games. I know RetroRat and BigSunZone, they're trying to get some throwback games. So a lot of retro games. But you guys will be seeing their pickups as well in a future video. Shout out to that WrestleMania game in the box as well. So that was definitely a rare game to see. More Xbox titles here. We definitely didn't mess with the sports games just because we knew the value of the sports games wasn't really something we were looking for. This vendor right here had a lot of retro consoles and games. He had like Neo Geo, he had the Atari systems, so it was pretty dope to see that. And this vendor, a lot of Nintendo items, and also some in-box Super Nintendo games. You saw that Double Dragon there. And then we also have more in-box games. It was pretty cool to see a lot of these vendors keep their games in really good condition. Because as collectors, as gamers, we obviously wanted to have games in very good condition. Even though the games were used, we still want to make sure we can get in that mint, like close to mint condition. There's some Final Fantasy, titles there, PS2. So myself, like since I am trying to complete like a PS4 collection, I'm trying to get all like my Final Fantasy, games for the PS4 completed. And then eventually I might start filling those, Final Fantasy games with some PS2 Final Fantasy games. So my Final Fantasy collection, definitely going to try and pick up some old school Final Fantasy games in the future. Here we got some Nintendo games. Some N64, that Donkey Kong 64. Shout out to that game. That game was phenomenal on the N64. And there was a Dreamcast you guys just saw. Here's us, leaving the event. But before we leave the event, we were still looking at some more games. More, Wii games here. Resident Evil 6, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. If you guys like content like this, showcasing, our trip to these type of events, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more content. We did do a Milton, Ontario Game Swap event, so make sure you guys check that out. That was kind of like our first official YouTube video. So, it's not so great in terms of like the editing and the quality, but make sure you guys check that out. But the Milton Game Swap event, they also hold that like yearly. Sometimes they hold that event 3 times like in a year. Here we got more Nintendo Switch games. Knockout Boxing. Who remembers Knockout Boxing, man? That was a pretty good game right there. We also had a lot of these vendors advertising their video game stores, which was pretty cool because we might take a trip one day to, these video game stores and see what other things they had in stock. And this vendor right here also had a lot of like cases and protection for consoles and games as well, which was pretty cool. All right, this is us leaving the event. We're heading downstairs. They were holding like some sort of like video game tournament. But us, the game haulers, we didn't want to compete because a lot of these gamers out here, they didn't want to, get intimidated by us and everything like that. They didn't want that smoke. That's what it was. Especially BigSunZone. BigSunZone, he was like ready to compete, but no one wanted that smoke. So quick view of the video game tournament. So they had like the Wii, they had the PS2. You can see some vintage throwback games here. Sega Genesis, Sonic. So yeah, this was basically just the event. We are going to be attending another Game Swap event in the future. But like I said, we are going to be doing a pickup video. So make sure you guys check that out. And this is the end. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, you guys take care. Game Haulerz out. Peace.